I'm your host, Greg Villafana, and we've partnered up with our friends at MPP to deliver short business tips each month. Having expertise in the swimming pool industry and business world, we believe these messages will truly help your business. So without further ado, let's jump into this month's business tip.
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafana. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
What's going on, Brian? Nice to have you back on the podcast. How you doing?
I'm good, Greg. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. So the topic we're going to talk about today is, should you consider Airbnb accounts residential or commercial? Can you share with us what that means exactly?
Sure, absolutely. I think the Airbnb vacation rental kind of phenomenon is beginning to take off in every single market that has pools. I think it's a weird little gray zone where they're not really residential and they're not really commercial. In other words, there's really no oversight or regulation to determine how they should be treated. And so we're in this weird spot where, how do you price them? What's the extra liability? Is there any extra liability? The hope would be just to kind of figure out and give people tools to help identify how they're going to treat these pools as they come up, because ultimately they're going to be on your routes. They're there now, whether you know it or not. So the hope is just to kind of help people give them some tools to determine the risks so they can make better decisions for their business.
Right. And prior to us hitting the record button, you were saying how much, like hotels and commercial properties are a lot like the Airbnbs. And just like you said, you might not know that a property is an Airbnb because, somebody might not have told you. There might be a project management team handling it, and they probably know that it's not in their best interest to say what it is, because it's going to require a lot more attention. Maybe headache is the right word. So they might not disclose that because it could cost a little bit more. So what are your thoughts on, how they're similar, and what has your experience been?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, to your point, you're right. Not everyone will admit that they plan on renting the property. We ask them straight up, right? When a customer calls and they want service or an estimate for service, we ask them directly. So we kind of make them lie to us, if you will. But I would also say that your pool guy probably knows the answer to that. If you polled your pool guys and asks them which properties they believe are Airbnbs, they probably could give you the short list, because you're going to see it in just the experience of cleaning the swimming pool. So, one of the challenges you face with these swimming pools is they do relate more to a commercial swimming pool in many cases, right? Commercial swimming pools, there's a set of regulations that determine how that swimming pool needs to be managed. It usually comes from the Department of Health. These pools don't have that, but the experience of cleaning them is a lot like a commercial swimming pool. What do I mean by that? They generally have a much higher bather load because people are coming in the house and they're swimming the entire time, right? The swimming pool is the reason they rented the house. No one rents an Airbnb because they have nice sheets. They rent an Airbnb because they have a beautiful backyard swimming pool in it. And so people come to swim and they're ready to swim. So, you're going to have a bunch of people in the swimming pool every weekend. It's going to be warm all the time. And that comes with extra demands. You've got a higher chlorine demand. When there's a problem, you got to be there quickly. And again, that's relating more to a commercial swimming pool than a residential swimming pool. So are you pricing them the way you should, or are you pricing them the same as their neighbor who, might be 87 and hasn't been in the pool since 1987?
Right. Thank you. So, that answers, this first talking point about, does the pool get used more than a traditional pool that might be, say, in my backyard, So this is an Airbnb, like you said. If you wanted to stay in a hotel, you go stay in a hotel. But if you're getting a vacation rental property, and we're talking about Airbnb, but there are obviously other vacation rental types out there. So make sure to, ask people, is this a vacation rental, when you do ask them. So is the pool being heated more than a normal pool?
Yeah, I would argue in my market for sure. Right. The average swimming pool right now in South Florida is 70 degrees. and our Airbnbs are in the high 80s, right? Because no one wants to go swimming in a pool that's freezing cold. So they're always heated. They're heated virtually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is not the custom for what you'd find in a given market. You're going to have some heated pools, but all of these pools are heated all the time, right? So and everybody knows what heated pool has different chemical requirements than a pool that is not heated. So you don't really benefit from the winter season, if you will, like you would normally when the pool gets cold. You're generally using less chemicals during that season because there's not a high chlorine demand. You don't get that from these type of pools. So they are heated more in my experience. And again, that creates its own set of challenges. So you just want to make sure you're identifying that and pricing them correctly.
And what have you done? What has your business done to help with that challenge? I mean, you have automation, obviously there's more chemicals, so it's going to cost more money to keep up that pool. What are some of the things that have worked for you?
Yeah, well, keep in mind, a lot of our experiences have come out of pain, right? You have a frustrating scenario happen, and you kind of learn your lesson, and you do things different next time. One of the things that we, first and foremost, again, we'll just repeat this, we ask every new customer when they come on board if they're going to rent the house out. Okay, it's better to ask them on the front end and then have this conversation than price it regular and then have to have it later with an increase in price. Even though they probably pay the cleaning lady to come a couple times a month to clean out the house every time the guest leaves, that doesn't mean they're willing to pay the pool guy extra because of all the work you have to do. You've actually got to go ask for that. We require all Airbnbs or vacation rentals, to have a salt system. That the equivalent of having the pool guy show up a little bit, every day and add a little bit of chemicals to the pool. So you're not having to go 7 days between dosing. That's an important piece. It significantly reduces the amount of green pools we face in these kind of rentals. If it's a vacation rental with a spa, we require either twice a week pool service, or we require an automation system with the ability to time out. For the AquaLink, for example, you can set it so that when that homeowner turns it into spa mode and they want to have fun in the spa, 4 hours later, everything's going back to normal. So you never walk into that situation where the hot tub's been running for 6 days straight at 102. The pool's green because there's been no circulation and everyone's mad at you, right? If you're going to come twice a week, you can solve those problems before they become issues. And if they're not willing to pay for twice a week service, then forcing them to have some sort of automation or controller, if you will, to minimize the damage.
Love that.
Those are two things we do just in terms of basic service. The other things that we've had a lot of success with is just clearly communicating with the customer. They know they're running a business, and when you kind of let them know that they're running a business in a nice way, it gives you a starting point. Like we send a nice letter out to everybody, letting them know, listen, we know you're running a commercial enterprise out of this home, and we want to help support you and make you the most successful possible. Right? You know that if that pool's not right, there's a high chance you're going to get a negative review. So let's make sure that we're working together so that you're getting everything you're paying for, and your guests are getting the experience they're looking for. We went back to them actually in that same letter, and we offered them a basic safety kit. Right? In a commercial swimming pool, for example, you're going to have life ring, life rope. You're going to have a metal pole. You're going to have a life hook. You're going to have all these things. Pool rules, for example. We went back to these homeowners, these vacation rentals, and we tried to offer them that service. Say, listen, you can have a basic safety kit in your backyard, so that if there ever is a problem, you at least can point to the fact that you provided the basic safety needs that any other commercial pool in your county or state would have. Not everyone took advantage of it, of course, but at least we can point back to a day where we offered that. So worst case scenario, there was never an incident or a loss in that swimming pool. Everyone's going to get sued, but at least you can point back to that day and say that you did your due diligence and you offered adequate services to that swimming pool. Whether the property owner or vacation host decided to take you up on it, it's a whole other thing.
Right. Thank you. And when there's a problem, do you need to do it right away? Because how on a residential pool, some people act like it's an emergency. It's 8:00 at night. And there's not too many emergencies that can't be just shut off or shut down and, visited the next day. Is that different when it comes to these vacation rentals?
Yeah, 100%. So in my business, we do some commercial work. So we're doing hotels on the beach and we're doing residential swimming pools. And so there's definitely a difference in the two. And if you've got a hotel on the beach, for example, and their pool goes down, it's an emergency. Like they have guests, it's a big deal. There's a huge amount of money on the line for that person. So if you can't get there quickly, they're going to leave you. It's the same for the vacation rentals. They've rented this property out at a high price. The homeowners are expecting to use the pool. And when there's a problem, they need you there yesterday. And of course, inevitably it happens Friday at, 4:59 or Saturday morning or Sunday morning, when you're not really set up to take care of it properly. So yes, in my case, I would definitely relate this to more of a commercial pool from that perspective, because there is a higher demand for your time and quicker response. And again, there's more money on the line. They've rented this house out. They're getting paid for the use of the house, including the pool. So if it's not right, the guest is going to hold that host accountable. And then guess who their next phone call is? That's to you.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe it could be an opportunity, because usually the people staying in the vacation rental will run into the pool person. Maybe it's an opportunity to get more consistent reviews off of one house, opposed to just kind of waiting months on end for, the homeowner to give you some kind of feedback.
Yeah. So to that point, the letter that we sent, right, and I would encourage you to communicate with your customers, but the letter we sent, we just aligned with them and said, we know you're running a business here and we want you to help you be successful, and pointed out, as much as the nice sheets on the beds in your house probably help you get rentals, the reality is the beautiful pictures of your swimming pool, that's what seals the deal. That's why they click book it now, right? So we want to help you be successful. We want to give you a scenario where you win. Because when you win, then I win too. So just communicating well with the homeowner. These people are business owners. They generally understand. You're always going to have the Karens, if you will, of the world that you give you a hard time about it. But the risk is you don't address it properly, and then you have liability out there that you either haven't identified or you're ignoring, right? If you're going to do some of these basic steps just to properly price them and communicate well and take some steps to reduce your liability, then I think ultimately you're running a better business. You're making more money too. You have less problems. No one's going to, I'll give you an example. No one's going to price a hotel on the beach the same as a backyard swimming pool, because it's just not the same, right? The problem we have here is that these swimming pools are in residential neighborhoods. They have the same size as every other pool in the street that you're probably already servicing. Or maybe even they bought the house from a previous customer and now they're renting it out. You find yourself in this weird spot where they're priced like all your other swimming pools, but they're not the same. And so all of the loss comes to you as a business owner or as a pool guy. You're responsible for making up the difference. You've got frustrated customers. You're putting extra chemicals in. You're making extra visits. You're disrupting your business to get there quicker than, everybody else because they're screaming at you. So, helping identify and kind of put this into a residential bucket or a commercial bucket is going to help you run your business. So you can price them appropriately and reduce risk. That's the idea.
Right. And does a vacation rental require more time, chemicals than a normal swimming pool of equal size?
I would argue yes. Let's put it this way. If you've got two swimming pools next to each other, right, they're the same size. I'm in Florida, so let's call it a 15 by 30, basic Florida swimming pool, right? You've got one where you've got an 84-year-old lady who hasn't been in the house since 1987, and then you've got an Airbnb next door. They're the same pool in footprint, but you're going to use a lot more chemicals, on the vacation rental because of its usage, because it's heated, right? You're going to have a lot more suntan lotion and all the things that just make your life harder. So yeah, they're absolutely different. The question is, are you going to identify that and take advantage of it, or are you just going to make less on that one, all right? Because you're busy and life goes on. I think the industry could lead here. The reality is I think most of these properties fit in some gray zone. Your city may be regulating them, your county, your state might be regulating them, but they're probably not. And so I think it's our job as company owners to go out there and make good decisions. And we need to start setting the market for this so that we're making the right amount of money on each pool, right? You can have 10 pools on the street, but if 3 are leaking, you're not making any money there. The idea is to run your business in such a way where you make the right amount of money at every swimming pool. And I think this is another one of those situations where if properly identified, you can make more revenue here, and you can also mitigate risk by doing that, right? So, that's my hope, at least. One other thing I forgot to mention, by the way, is we double whatever the filter cleaning or filter replacement timeline is for a traditional swimming pool. We double it or cut it in half. Excuse me. So if we're changing if we're changing cartridges annually, we're doing it every 6 months at these properties. If we're cleaning them every 4 weeks, we're cleaning them every 2 weeks at these properties because they need it. They have a lot more usage. And so we're doing it to make sure that that pool never turns green. Because when it turns green, you lose money and you have a ton of frustration and the guests can't use the pool. And it's just a nightmare all around.
Yeah. And you hurt their business as well because people on the vacation rental websites, they, get bookings by the amount of reviews and the quality of the reviews. And you can probably go through a ton of them. And if there isn't, good pool equipment or there was a green pool, you better believe that they're going to be writing a novel on the experience that they had. Because you very well just ruined somebody's vacation and that is their business. And it's going to put a ding in that. So if they're new, maybe just make them aware of that. Maybe somebody could go through and copy all the bad reviews that, reference swimming pools. That would be interesting.
That's a great point, right? So when you walk up on that swimming pool and they've got a 10-year-old pool heater there, have a conversation with the homeowner while you have them. Listen, this heater's 10 years old. It works, barely. But there's going to come a point when it doesn't work, and it's probably going to be Friday afternoon. And so, is it worth losing that guest, asking that, when they ask all their money back and then give you a negative review? Is it worth that? Or is it time to go ahead and proactively change out this heater, give you a brand new warranty? There's plenty of money to be had here and made by us if we'll just identify these pools and then have an action plan to go and go tackle them. Again, unfortunately, we're all busy. Everything going on, they just become another pool. They become a gray area for us that we, sometimes ignore. And, that's a detriment to our business. We're again, forget the liability side of it. There's a lot of money to be made in these pools if we'll just go after it. If we'll identify it, have a realistic conversation with the homeowner. These guys are business owners. They bought this house with the purpose of making money. They know they need to have equipment that works. So, ask the question, give them an option. You never know until you ask, right? If you give them an estimate for a brand new equipment set, they might say yes. And then you just made a ton of money.
Exactly. So with that being said, does a vacation rental present more risk to your business than a normal swimming pool?
I would argue yes to that. We had an experience a few years ago that kind of put the cap on this for me. We had a customer that had probably 12 or 13 vacation rentals with us. Wasn't really willing to invest in the properties. They wanted Thursday service. You generally, in my market, they want Wednesday or Thursday service. That's when their new guests arrive. And so we came and we balanced the water. We document everything, every company should, but we had great documentation of that. What we didn't know was that after the pool guy left and the guests arrived, it was I can't remember if it was a spring break or a summer thing, but basically like 14, 12-year-old girls showed up at this house and they put it in spa mode and they heated it up to 102 and they just left it there for 6 days. Well, when the guests checked out, a couple of the girls got kind of rashes and ended up going to doctors. And, the owner or the host calls me just super upset, right? Saying that these girls had to go to the hospital. It's my fault. And the reality is we had all the documentation that the water was balanced on Thursday when my pool guy showed up. What we didn't or couldn't account for was the fact that the spa was going to run with, a bunch of middle school age girls in it for, 5 or 6 days. Pool's turning green, spa's a cesspool, and we were able to mitigate that risk because of our documentation. And that really was what put the cap on it for me. It was like, these are not residential swimming pools, and we're just ignoring the risk by not just, tackling this challenge. And that's really when we set in motion the process of really managing these the way they should be managed. And, we lost a couple along the way, But the reality is most of these folks that, when you communicate well to them and you walk them through what you're trying to do and how you're trying to help them, they're business owners. They understand. They're trying to operate a commercial enterprise here. And, we found most of them to be reasonable.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that story, because just by hearing that, it sounds exactly like a commercial pool, but we all might not be treating these like commercial pools, because if you were at, say, the Holiday Inn or something, they usually have people on staff or somebody that's there every other day or every single morning that can make sure that those problems go away, much faster. There's so many variables. If you have a different family from different parts of the country, even the world, it's complicated. We already deal with enough variables because it's water, but now you're bringing in new variables every single week. So making that very transparent and clear that this is pretty much like a commercial pool is going to be good for you.
Yeah. Well, I think the best way we've been able to identify with the host is kind of aligning with the housekeeping crew, if you will. A regular residential house, if they even have a housekeeper, which most people don't, but if they do, they're not coming every couple days, right? They're coming a couple times a month, maybe once a month, if you even have one. But, vacation rentals, they're coming after every guest leaves, because they realize this is a commercial business and they have to present, an output. They have to present a product that is satisfactory to their guests. So when we're able to relate the pool service and needing extra pool service to needing extra house cleaning, you generally get a good response, because they know they're already paying for that. They've already come to that realization that is needed. They're just not making the leap to the swimming pool. To them, it's just, well, I'm going to pay whatever as cheap as possible. And, they don't want to pay extra. They're never going to offer, hey, can you charge me more because I'm a vacation rental? So you got to kind of drag it out of them sometimes. But if you can relate it to something they've already kind of admitted and agreed to, which is, they're probably getting the house cleaned after every guest leaves, then you might have a better chance at having a real conversation with them when they're not defensive.
Very good. And our last talking point would be, what can people do to reduce risk and make profit servicing Airbnb, vacation rentals?
Sure. Well, one thing I'll say is price them appropriately. Okay. Going back to my two pools on the same street, you could have two pools on the same street. They're the same footprint. They're the same size, right? But if one, no one's ever swimming in it, and then one is a vacation rental, you're making a whole lot less money in the vacation rental than the other one. So we need to be pricing them accordingly. And then the other thing is, take the opportunity to have a plan. Go to the homeowner or the host, if you will, and give them a plan for what you're going to do for that extra money, and give them a chance to digest it. Again, we make more on these pools when we price them properly. We're selling twice as many filter cartridges. We're obviously pricing more. We're selling them a salt system when they buy the house because we require it. If they have a spa, we're making money on an automation system. Give them a bid for a brand new energy efficient variable speed pump. Give them a new equipment set bid. See what they take it. There's a chance that you can really make some money here. And at the same time, by doing all that, you're not just making money, you're also lowering your risk, because you can now set that pool up so that the homeowner wins with the guests. They can lock the guest out, for example. One of the best things I ever did when I started selling Aqualink was pull out my phone and show them that you could lock out a guest. So the only thing they can do is turn on the spa and turn on the blower, right? They can't turn the heater up to 104. They can't control it. You can lock them out completely from the system. By doing that, you're giving the homeowner tools that they might not even know exists, right? So you give them that tool, you give them that resource. At the same time, you're lowering your risk, because now I know that every time that homeowner calls to put the spa on, I know it's going back to the regular set of where the valves are set after 4 hours, right? And so I know that when I come back next week, I'm not walking up to a green pool or a spa that's been running for 7 days at 102. It's going to go back to pool mode, and all the valves are going to go back. And the other thing where we've seen value and made money at the same time is, a lot of vacation rentals now will charge the guest to heat the pool, where you can't really, it's hard to do that without an automation system, but giving them the ability to, they're going to charge an extra $50 a night for the pool to be heated. And all it is for the homeowner is to flip a switch on their automation system. And now they made $50 extra a night because that homeowner wanted the pool hot, is a great feature. So if you can align yourself with the homeowner, you're going to make more money, you're going to reduce your risk, and you're going to have a better experience for your techs. Your tech's not going to walk up to that disaster of a swimming pool as often as otherwise. So it's really a win-win if you just take the time to go through it, set up, make a plan, and communicate with those customers in a way that makes sense.
That's all amazing stuff. And I really appreciate your time, Bryan. For the listeners, if anybody wants to reach out, how can they get a hold of you? Because I'm sure there's going to be some people with some questions on your experience here with these vacation rentals.
Sure. No, absolutely. This is what we're all about, man. This is one of the reasons I joined MVP, was trying to help elevate the industry. So you can reach me at my email address. It's bbanta@go-npp.com. And I'd love to help any way I can. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you again, Bryan.
All right, Greg. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to learn more, you could hit the link in the show notes below or visit poolchasers.com. If you'd like to learn more about MPP, visit go-mpp.com. See you out there, pool chasers.